What is going on, kid family? Welcome back to the channel. On today's video we are going to be talking about the R18 engine. Yes, we are boosting the R18 motor here shortly, and I just want to give a little background information on the motor, on the capabilities and the limitations of the R18. So if you are interested in this video, if you plan on boosting your 1.8 liter R series motor, just stick around for the entire video. Oh, and I lost you already. From the get-go, these motors come with about 140 horsepower and 129 pound-feet of torque, right? They're all aluminum motor, plastic intake manifold, and they're in our economy boxes. Now, if you go back a decade, all the Honda Civics base models that were running D series engines, especially the D16 Z6, D16 Y8, a lot of people boosted those motors and they made a good amount of horsepower, 220, 230, and then they built the motor up. Well, our motors at this point are a little bit different, right? We're using a plastic intake manifold now, which isn't good for boost. They crack, they tend to crack. So if you're going high boost, you got other issues to consider. In this application, I'm personally going low boost on my Honda Civic R18. So I'm going to be talking a lot about low boost applications for our engines. Now, low boost is fine for the plastic intake manifold, right? It's a single overhead cam, first of all. It has one camshaft with two sets of lobes. This second set of lobes is what they call the VTEC lobe. But unlike traditional VTEC, which increases horsepower by increases the duration of the valves being open, forcing more air to come in and exhaust to flow out, this economy VTEC here does the opposite. It actually restricts the amount of airflow coming in and out of the engine. It's meant for economy. It does not have any power benefits, and we can actually disable that economy VTEC lobe on Honda, which I'll make a video on that separate again. But our low cam is our power cam. That's the cam that we're going to be tuning on. That's the cam that's our performance cam. Why not just stay in it the whole time? If you're going turbo, you're not looking for economy in the first place. The bottom end of this motor is not forged, right? So we can't push too much power on it. The good thing is it does have oil squirters on the bottom end of the engine, which help lubricate and cool the rods and the whole rotating assembly. That's awesome. The car does have a high compression ratio of 10.5 to 1, so there is a lot of pressure already built in this engine. Adding a turbo and more pressure into an internal combustion engine with such a high compression ratio can already mean bad things, such as blown piston rings, blown rods, but let's not knock on some wood. But there are many successful stories with high compression motors and low boost applications that run just fine. Just the only thing is run quality fuel, 93 octane or higher. Our fuel right here in the Midwest is 93 with up to 10% of ethanol blend, so you can get around with running a low boost setup on that octane, no problem. These motors reliably can probably take close to 200 to 250 wheel horsepower. If you're approaching over 250 horsepower, you're going to have a lot of limitations in the internal engine itself, right? Pistons and rods are the first thing that might go. But the other thing that might give you problems is the fuel system in these cars. It's a returnless fuel system, which isn't optimal for boost. So unless you want to upgrade the fuel system on these vehicles to a return style fuel system, you're going to be pretty much capping the potential of the R18 around that 220 to 250 mark, right? And you don't want to push the fuel system, because if you push it, you run lean, you can potentially blow the motor. The transmissions, on the other hand, are limited as well. My build is lame. It's got an automatic transmission, but that's okay. A lot of you guys are probably running automatic transmissions. Now, the limitations with this is the torque converter on the automatic. Low boost should be fine. You might want to get a external transmission cooler. And if you're really serious and the transmission is flashing D or giving you other issues, you might actually have to upgrade your torque converter. The word on the street is you want a level 10 torque converter upgrade. I've only seen one shop selling these, and There's nothing online that shows somebody actually putting a level 10 torque converter in and running it efficiently. So if you, in my personal opinion, if you're going that far on an automatic R18, you've gone too far, you're in the rabbit hole, you're putting in way too much money and work into an engine and platform that is very limited. So my build is super budget, and we're just keeping it right under the engines and transmissions capabilities, which should make a good recipe. If you're a manual transmission, you're definitely going to have to upgrade the clutch. These things make a lot of torque down low. It's probably going to have more torque than the Honda Civic Si, which is great, but again, your clutch is not going to hold that extra torque. So your first step is to upgrade the torque, or your first step is to upgrade the transmission clutch to hold all that power, all that torque. But there's some rumors around there. One of my friends that drives it aggressively, Mr. Brown, you're online, shout out to you. You go through transmissions like pie. If people don't believe me, write a comment down below and they'll believe me. So when it comes to tuning, there is also a flap in the intake manifold that opens and closes. So it changes the length of the intake runners, right? We can have a short runner or a long runner, and that actually depends on the RPM that your engine is running in, and that's something you can tune on Honda as well and adjust based on what you're looking for, right? I believe a long runner helps with low end power, and then during the high end RPMs it actually closes and makes it a short runner, so the air goes directly into the intake manifold, into the combustion engine, and creates more power. That's something to experiment with again. All in all, I can see the potential of these motors. We can get around 100 wheel horsepower from these things on low boost with an upgraded fuel system, and obviously the turbo and appropriate sizing of the turbo. Now, a lot of people had recalls on these vehicles with a cracked block issue, and the blocks crack, you lose antifreeze, and essentially the block is no good. That sucks if you blow your motor that way. At least blow it by boosting it, boys. My motor has around 97,000 miles at it right now. Original engine, original trans. I've been running synthetic oil on it from day one. Transmission fluid has been changed every 30,000 miles. So far, everything's been running good. I just recently did a valve lash adjustment on the vehicle last year when I was in COVID and unemployed. So right now, my valve train is working perfect. It's a lot less quieter than it was before because it was very noisy. So everything all around, maintenance and everything's dialed in. So I'm excited to start the turbo build. I just want to give you guys some background information on the motor itself, on the potential problems and whatnot. If you know any other information, jot it down below in the comments section. Definitely smash the like button to support your boy during this build. It's definitely a lot more tiring than I thought it would be. A lot of brain work and analysis for what parts work and what not. Again, this is my daily driver, so this build has to go right the first time, and we're slowly progressing through the motions of the ocean. So I'll catch you guys on the next video. The next video, we're going to be talking about the fuel system and the fuel injector options that we have for the R18, and I'll tell you the injectors I chose for the build. I'll catch you guys on the next video. Peace.
I ain't here for the money, I ain't here for the fame. Though it might be nice to own a jet plane, I'ma do it all for you. Come along and see it's true, but the world is pretty cold. You might need a sweater too. I'ma put a ride on ya. Kid from California, trying to make it in life. In school they never taught ya. Dreams of